Good afternoon. Once again, John Verlin with On-Demand Advertising Solutions and another digital marketing update, number 56. And today I want to start off with an email I got from a gentleman named Brett in Overland Park, Kansas. Brett is an accountant, and he comments, John, have listened to a few of your podcasts. I appreciate what you have to say. I'm getting ideas. My issue is I'm concerned about online competition, platforms, etc., with lowest common denominator pricing. And I'm afraid it's going to take business from me, or has taken business. And that's a great question, Brett, a great statement. You are correct in that, the internet has changed everything, obviously. It's equalized, a great equalizer all across the world. You could get a logo done on one of these platforms I think you're referring to that does graphic design, web design, anything. And it could be a guy in South Africa. And it used to be maybe cost you $150, $200 to get a logo. Now it costs you $25 or $15 because of this great leveler of some of these platforms. Now, any kind of service business, like in your case, accounting, if you just need, if you have QuickBooks and you're a small business owner, think about, you know this, and you have right to be concerned because this is affecting every type of service business, from marketing firms to accounting firms to architects, web designers, graphic designers. Think about, anybody can be a web designer now, practically. You just get any one of these websites, you can build your own, and even artificial intelligence might build it for you. It's affected everybody in the service industries. I think about doctors, how they're affected by the healthcare changes. And, it used to be you'd get a referral, you go to that physician. But now that if you're forced to go, I say forced, but if you sign up for the healthcare.gov insurance, you now have to go maybe to another doctor group, another hospital to get your prescriptions covered, everything to get it covered. And if you're a physician and you're not a member of that, healthcare.gov platform, if your hospital group isn't a member or your physician group isn't, suddenly you could be losing patients because of the shift of all this. It's the same thing with all these platforms now to do your own marketing, to do your own everything, really. You name it, accounting, marketing. So it's affected a lot of people. I want to give you some tips that might help a little bit to help compete against that. And I think mainly the local presence is the main thing because, yes, anybody can go on to an Upwork website or any of those freelance websites, Moonlighting, I think, there's others, and compare pricing. And they're all probably, there's some they're going to, I don't know how many are going to say, yeah, I want the expert. They're probably going to go, I want an intermediate experience with value, or I want the cheapest I can get. Now, how many aren't going to say that? And I did happen to look up on Upwork accountants a few hours ago after I got your email, and there's budget $100 for a week's work. Another one was $83.55. So they're piecemealing projects. And you can imagine, and yet, you open it up to thousands of people willing to compete on a freelance basis, and, you have 10 offers. So, yeah, it can be a problem. But locally, I think there's some things you can do to help stand out more. Steve Strauss had a few weeks ago a column in USA Today, and he always has some great marketing tips. And a lot of these we've talked about in the past. But mainly, number one, having a niche. You're an accountant, but don't be all things to all people. Yeah, and there are businesses, I've seen this, well, we can do it all. Well, that's a good way to, if you're all things to all people, you're nothing for anybody. You've got to have something unique, something different. So how do you do that? Well, maybe you focus in on, of course, a lot of them tie into maybe corporate taxes. Obviously, H&R Block and all those did personal taxes, but maybe it's a unique, maybe it's real estate tax, or whatever, just like lawyers, how they will focus in on civic law, divorce law, personal injury, and become specialists. Same thing could apply to any kind of service business. You're not just an accountant, you are an accountant for the dairy industry or whatever. So having that niche is really important, because it also means that when people get to the page of your website, they'll know exactly what you're about, and that's critical. The second thing is that Google will index the page well, and it will rank higher, obviously increasing the odds of someone finding it. But again, it's not just about the websites or online, your social media. Will have to have a niche as well. So being unique within the niche, okay, you need to be different, somehow special. And again, I mentioned if you're a lawyer, you might be a divorce lawyer, or maybe a divorce for women lawyer, or something. So you find that niche within that unique profile to target, basically. And you may say, well, I can't make as much money. Well, you're not. Thing is, that's the whole point. You've got to differentiate. And this is one way of being unique within a niche, is one way to differentiate yourself. It's like what we do is, animated videos, video podcasts. Yes, we can do other stuff, buying media and doing all that, but the focus is on what personally I enjoy and I enjoy doing, but I also see a need for all this, as I've mentioned in the past, because of the way things have changed with how Google ranks things and the perception of a business. When a local prospect goes to your website, they need to see something different to make you stand out, and that's what we're talking about. In our case, what we try to offer to make you stand out compared to everybody else. So making it personal is also something. One thing Mr. Strauss mentioned, he saw using video. Okay, that's a big thing too. He bought an online course, he commented in this article, because the guy that sold it talked directly to the camera and sounded convincing. And that's why he bought the course. So using video, I've had people ask me, can you do personal or videos? Yes, we can, but we focus on the animated and video podcasts for a couple reasons. Although we can do, yes, I call them straight videos, but the reason is because they're different. There are more and more people looking at using video. They haven't done it yet as much, but that's in the next step because of the rich content of how Google ranks videos. So that's something to do too, and have a great name. This is something that you'd think would be marketing 101 for a lot of businesses, but maybe you're not Brett's Accounting Service, you're Brett's Outstanding Accounting Service, or Brett's LLC Accounting. So your name says what you are. He gives some comments like Jiffy Lube, Baja Fresh, Quickie Mart, things like that. And if you don't have a great name, you can also have a great tagline. Like Hertz, we try harder. Being number 2, we try harder, or something that's memorable. So you could have a great tagline. And the key to this tagline, and this is, I've talked about this over and over, is repetition. 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 That's the secret. That's the key. And you may ask, well, John, why do I need to do constant posting on my social media every week? It's repetition. Well, why do I have to come up with content every week or however often, discussing what I do? Repetition. All of that is part of your marketing platform that forms the brand image of your business. And if somebody, and this is the critical part, you'll be affected, all of us will be affected by platforms online as far as lower common denominator pricing and all that could take from the services we offer. But if you have a local prospect, let's say you're going on a regular basis, again, it's repetition, to chambers and Rotary clubs and networking events, and you're meeting people, and you're giving your cards out, whatever you're doing. I know a guy who's got a cotton candy business, 70-something years old. He dresses up in a pink cotton candy sweatshirt with silly hats all the time of the season, usually Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever. and he's the cotton candy man. That's what he's known as. And he does fairs and corporate events, and he says the chamber's one of the best things he's ever done because he gets, 40% of his business from it. And I asked him once, I said, I didn't say, what kind of money do you make? But he said, well, this last year I got to take my family and grandkids on a trip to Disney World. So, probably doing it part-time just for fun, keep busy, and I'm sure he has fun. I even told him he ought to write a book on marketing because he sure has that hook to it. But at any rate, so as you're going to these events and getting out and meeting people, and you're giving out your business card, and they go to your website and they see what you are all about in 30 seconds or less. That's the key. That's the branding platform, the imaging I'm talking about, that will make you stand out locally in comparison to if they were to, say, Google somebody else, a competitor. It's all about getting within that 30-second time frame to keep the attention span and stand out. And that's what some of these tips I try to give today, and that Mr. Strauss listed to help you stand out is so critical because of these platform, I call them platform threats, but it's affecting everybody because you can do everything online today, practically. And from ordering a pizza to getting a car to, dating to doing your taxes, everything. So thank you for the email, Brett. It's great question. I know there's concerns a lot of small businesses have about this, but really I think the main thing is focusing on your brand, keeping it short, sweet, and memorable, utilizing video, being unique and different, and the repetition. This is why, I've mentioned this in the past, why a lot of small businesses I've talked to don't have websites, which I think is a huge, they really need to because of this. And then the content they put on it, it needs to be on a regular basis, and it needs to be rich media content, video, animated video, photos. How many blog posts have you read where maybe you had one photo? If you look at mine, and I'm not saying this is great, but I've got numerous images, and that's for a reason, partly. I'm very visual, but it's also because it keeps attention. And a lot of people, that's what they're talking about, is that rich media content that will grab attention. John Verlin12 at AT&T.net is my email. OnDemandAdvertisingSolutions.com is the website. And we'll talk to you again soon.